blocking spam.
There's still time.
I like the rapping thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, welcome to this week's What the Heck, everybody. Hold on, I got to do some things. Let's see, show participants' names, audio. I'm going to turn on because my heater is on. Cool. All right, we have Ising, Forrestine, and Bartok will be here, and maybe Benjamin. So we'll see. If not, we have a lot to talk about regardless. Hey Moose Man, Alien Signal, and Ben. First up, let's do super fast intros. Who are you, and what is your dirty little sound secret? Like something that you do that's sort of like you feel is cheating, but isn't.
Beans, can you start?
Yeah,
I interrupted you.
Yeah, I can start because I don't know. I just thought of this when I was setting up. One thing I like to do that personally I feel is cheating is I use my mixer's reverb and delay because I just push a couple of buttons and put a slider up and it's like cheating. It's not a good reverb. Like if you compare it to any modular reverbs or my pedals, but it's adequate enough that I'm fine with it. So that's mine that I feel a little guilty about sometimes.
Yeah, I'm Ising, and two things. I use way too much reverb. I don't know if that's actually cheating, but it's a thing. And I have rings into clouds.
That's rings into clouds. Step 1, rings into clouds. Welcome to Modular.
Exactly. I mean, I still do it. Or mostly something into clouds and rings in some order. It just sounds good. It might be a dirty thing, but still sounds good.
It always sounds good, so no complaints.
Hi, I'm Forrestine, and I will not use any kind of proper line-in adapter. I just kludge everything real bad. With, old mixers and 1/4-inch to 1/8-inch adapters everywhere, and that is my secret. And this is loose.
1/4-inch to 1/8-inch adapters, like these beautiful things that you can never have too many of. Yeah. Yep. No, I'm very familiar with those. Hey Bartok, welcome.
Good morning.
I don't know. We have audio too. Perfect. Crystal clear audio even. Hey pup.
You gotta say the pet's name too.
Yeah, the intro is who are you and what is your dirty little sound secret? But I think actually for you, I want it to be, what is your dog's name?
So this is Theodore Roosevelt. His friends call him Teddy.
His friends!
That is an excellent name for that pup. What a good dog. Hey, Southpaw. All right, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Actually, Bartok, did you want to answer the like, what is your dirty little sound secret? Like something that you're a little bit guilty of doing all the time.
I'm not sure what that means. Like guilty.
Like I use my mixer's reverb and delay instead of like any of the other like actual
Oh, I
delay
do that too.
pedals and stuff. Yeah.
Is that supposed to be a dirty secret?
I don't know. It's what I do though. If you ever see me like reaching over and the sound gets bigger, that's what I'm doing. I'm not like there's no secret pedal or module. I'm turning up the like digital reverb.
Yeah, no, I have that too, and I have like the effects module that I use for on my final mix for some of the voices, but I do use the effects on my main mixer as well.
Awesome. Heck yeah. Mixer Reverb Club. I mean, I have so many good delays and reverbs. Like we were just talking before, like about our cool monotron delays. Like these things are sick, but you've got to like plug wires into them and turn them on, and like that's it. But like they rule. I don't know. Did you want to talk about them some more, Forresty? Because these things rule.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
little
because
apocalypse machines.
I could rewind and tell the whole thing again with the micro freak. This is the problem talking backstage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recently went home and I showed my 6-year-old nephew micro freak, and he was so into it, and he was just like, I've told this story a bunch, but anyway, we bought him a monotron for Christmas,
Yeah.
but we also had to buy us a monotron because like I need to know how to use it, and also I want one.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're like.
Now we chose this one because it was more Spider-Man-y than the other monotron.
Yeah. Okay, I get it now because it's got a spider web on it. Yeah.
And it's orange and black, and
It looks like a spaceship. It's awesome. I should do a sound demo of this at some point. Like it's excellent. I did mod mine and put rubber feet on it so it doesn't fly off of my table all the time, but that's about it. I mean, and you can't beat the price for like, full analog signal path, I believe.
yeah.
Sick, like delay and feedback to the point where it's gnarly.
It's so gnarly. It sounds so nasty.
And a full MS-20 filter, right? Like it doesn't. I mean, I wish it had a resonance knob. I feel like that might have killed too many ears combined with the feedback and the setup it is. But like, I do wish it had resonance, and I know there's mods to do it.
There's mods. Yeah. That's exciting.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Like, there's people who have taken this and built it into like a full-on like standing synthesizer that looks like an MS-10 or something. And I'm very jealous. I'm not committed to that, but it's amazing.
Yeah, I felt like this was more money than I would like to spend on my nephew, but also he was so excited about synths, and then I like could not do it. And
yeah,
like,
it's amazing.
it has a battery, and like it's pretty indestructible looking.
How much are they now? Like I've completely forgotten.
Like, it was like 80 something Canadian.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, but Canada tax.
Yeah, I guess so. Let's see, is my power on? Oh yeah. Yep. That thing rules. It's also like one of my favorite phone apps or synthesizer or iPad apps, I guess, was the hold on, I have it on here. It's a little robot guy. Well, it's just a robot. I have no idea. Let's see, music. Bebot, yeah. This thing, let's see. Yeah, sure. Let's turn the volume up so you can at least hear it through my microphone.
Oh, that's fun.
It's the most adorable thing. But what I'm getting at is this monotron actually does a really good, like it's a good replacement for it. Like it's a physical, you get all of those Bebot sounds and more out of the thing. It's awesome. Bebot is by far my favorite soft synth. So there you go. And it's cool to get something like that for that's really cool. I think the Emma's
Yeah, like I don't know, he like showed me his room and he like has taken good care of all of his things. So I was like, okay. Okay, we'll try.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
and I think it's a pretty durable little machine. Like maybe a potentiometer could get busted, but
Yeah.
I think a package delivery to me could get it fixed. So
Yeah.
if needed.
Oh, nice.
All right.
X7 for service.
Yeah. Uh,
Send it back and it's got all these weird mods in it.
well, only for specific people, like the talk phone that Bartok has now, and that kind of thing. Yeah. All right. Let's. Let me. I'm just. They've got a lot of stuff in the agenda.
I
Yeah,
thought
we're
of
gonna
things.
we're gonna get to the Castor and Pollux. We'll get to that for sure. Why do people like giant sequencer? Let's start simple. Let's start with expression controllers because Ising wanted to talk about that a little, and we ran out of time last week. So I'd like to just
Yeah, I'm super curious about them. It's something I've been wanting to look into. I have this weird thought about it could be cool to have something where you could sort of influence what's going on, but not necessarily play a melody. You know, I have this idea in my head that I would be playing a sequence and I would sort of try to put it up, and it would go up tones when I go up here, and it would sort of go down tonality, or I would sort of open close a filter, or I'd change something. But I don't really know much about them, and it's difficult to navigate. It seems to me.
Spider
Do you know
Monotron.
anything? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Tim said Spider Monotron. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, but do any of you guys know anything about them?
I would say Bartok's a boss in this area because Bartok's at least played with like joystick controllers and things. But I've got some. Bartok, you're up though.
Oh, you put me on the spot because I was trying to think what exactly, and I was hoping that he would then segue into like this one.
No.
But you know, some of the ones that are we talking like in rack or out or either or?
Well, let me back
that's-
up just a second because there's a good question. You mean like the Touche? Somebody's asking like,
Right, the
what are we
Touche.
talking about when we say expression controller? So there's like a huge range. Typically, an expression controller is something that doesn't output any sound, but will allow you to control the CV or pitch or something like that. So the Touche is a great example of, I think, a MIDI expression controller. Like even like your mod wheel on a keyboard is technically like an expression controller. I've got a couple of I always forget the name of the micro. They're essentially microphones, but I've got a door stopper on one I use very heavily as an expression controller. Like I'm controlling pitch with it, typically of samples, that kind of stuff. So those are like anything you can interact with, like in that sense. A lot of them are
Right.
touch.
So that's like anything that you can make do something that isn't pitch with your
Yeah.
fingies
No, or pitch.
Or
Could
pitch,
be-
or pitch.
yeah.
or
Yeah.
pitch. Like
So-
temporarily change something.
Right.
Right. So in rack, I think the only thing that I've used is the joystick. I specifically have the Bafaco one, and I went with this one because it's you can get it as a DIY kit, and so I built this one. One of the things that I don't like when I was looking for a joystick controller, and I didn't realize it at the time, is that some of them will spring back to center. So when you're trying to do something expressive, sometimes you want to like move it, find that spot, and leave it there while you go do something else. So that would be one thing that I would look for is to see if the joystick kind of stays. You can tweak this one a little bit if you want. Like I removed the springs that snap it back to center, so it doesn't snap back, but it still kind of slowly makes its way back. The other thing that I've played with is that Touche expressive device. There's different models of them, but one of them has CV outputs on it. So I didn't use any of the other features. I know that you can use it with MIDI, and you can. There's like a whole slew of things that you can do if you're working with a DAW. But I just used it to have the 3 axis outputs. It's basically like X, Y, and Z going to different modulation inputs.
Yeah.
and that was really cool. Like it actually was very responsive to how you touched it, where you placed your hand, and how much weight you put on. Um, the only reason I don't have one is because um, I want to try to contain everything when I travel. So that was just like another device that I would have to bring with me. But it worked great. I did play with one for a while. The other things there's the ribbon controllers.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
those are really cool, and I've actually thought of making one that fits in like a €1.
Oh, that'd be cool. I really wanted
Yeah,
my partner to build me one, but we couldn't find enough, like any ribbon. Like there
yeah,
was nothing findable that was long enough.
Yeah.
So I have the Waveform magazine one, and Mooseman has designed me something to print to put around it because
Yeah.
I
okay,
don't like. I had it stuck on my modular because it's supposed to go like around stuff. Yes, now you're smelling my arm. Um, but it's just annoying, and you can't put it in like a spot that makes any sense on a case. I
Yeah.
find it doesn't make any sense to me. So, but I haven't printed it because my printer is in my living room and I have nowhere to go. So I'm just using it. Um, yeah. Anyway, ribbon controllers. Subjectivize has like this massive ribbon controller.
yeah,
It's awesome.
yeah.
Right.
Those are really cool. And then the other thing is I always forget the name of it, but there's a ring. The
Yeah,
Oh,
I've
the
seen that.
electric
Yeah.
kitchen ring,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
ginkgo synth.
Like when we
yes,
talk about a ring, it's like a physical ring you
Yeah,
wear, and
makes
it's
him
got a
look like
cool
a
name, but you can like
magician.
wave it around like a magician.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have the same feeling about that as I have with the Theremin thing, because it looks really cool on sort of from afar, especially with the Theremin stuff. It looks really cool, but it looks
Yeah.
difficult as heck.
Yeah. I have also there was a New York Modular Society did a build of the NLC Lux a while ago, which is a light theremin thing
Yeah.
controller, and I really like it. But I have these flashlights from my friend's family's restaurant because her dad can't stop ordering restaurant swag. So I tell everyone that it only works if you use a flashlight from the Red Diamond.
Yeah. I actually that's so
Um,
I am planning like so on my setup I've got this like speaker row down here. I'm actually planning to build a second one or replace that one with one that's just expression controllers, and a light controller is one thing
oh
I want
yeah,
to
the
do.
Lux. I love the Lux. It's
Well, I want to build one because they're not. I don't think they're technically that challenging.
no,
And
it's
what I
really
would
easy.
like with it is essentially a switched input where I can actually have like an external sensor that I
Yeah.
plug into it, and then I can move it around. So I could like take it and like Velcro it, against a module that's flashing or something like
Oh,
that.
that would be really cool. I ended up like I have it way over on the left, and then I put a 1 HP blank between it and the next thing because I'm trying not
Yeah,
to block the light on either side.
yeah, that's
Um,
cool.
but I really like it for like um on Ikari, putting it in the resonance and the um stereo spread, and then the
Oh,
light gets
interesting.
brighter
Yeah,
and it just starts screaming. It's really good.
yeah. Um, that stereo spread input or that stereo input is like my most used on the Ikari.
Mine too.
um,
It's almost
Yeah.
like its own filter. It's so weird. Like
glow
the effects you can get with it.
an anglerfish LED. So like the LED is sticking out. I'm guessing that's pretty cool.
That would be cool.
I wanted to actually use it together with the Moskwa sequencer, which I've put back into my rack again, because it has two super interesting CV inputs. One that sort of just transposes the sequence up in sort of along the same scale, but up in notes, and one that's range that controls sort of the tonal range of the whole sequence. So you can sort of modulate both of them, and then you get sort of variant sequences to what you've already programmed in, or they sort of vary depending on where in the scale they are, or what is the start and what is the highest and lowest note of the sequence. So that is totally usable with something where you can sort of do a touch control on it or an expression control on it, because you can super easily just organically change your sequence up and down. I think that's super. That's a super nice thing to use an expression controller with.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Schmooster. Schmooster at the pub.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool things I think you can use expression controllers. I think a couple of the more obvious ones are like filter and anything sort of volume related to change the intensity of what you're playing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I would really realistically use it for, at least with the current sequencing setup I have. And maybe sometimes, LFO rate's kind of fun too, to crank those up.
I think Dofer is pushing that, or used to sort of advertise the whole thing with the theremin into a quantizer, and then you can wave a melody around. I think that's
I keep meaning
surprisingly
to do
hard
that
to
with
make
the
it.
Lux. And then I thought I unmuted myself and I muted myself.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, the quantized theremin is tricky. Like, I have a little experience with my little laser theremin because it is quantized, but it's not like easy to play a melody because
Exactly.
of its limitations. I've never tried an actual theremin. Yeah.
Well, neither have I, but I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, and you can very easily tell that this is quite a difficult thing to pull off. It's like an actual instrument that you have to have an extreme amount of control and precision to actually play. So
I would love a baked-in theremin somewhere on my instrument, but I have a feeling just with all the wires and stuff, I'd need to keep some separation between it and the machine. Wii nunchuck module, that's cool.
it is.
Oh, yeah.
That falls in there with like the wavy around, like the ring, or what's the name of that artist who made the gloves? Who's really really amazing. Imogen Heap. I don't know how to say.
Somebody calls that.
Yeah, she has these like expression gloves that are pretty cool, but I think you need a computer to sort of translate it into anything that we can use. Does anybody have any more questions or things they want to talk about with expression controllers?
No, but super nice to get a few inputs or ideas. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna research a little bit on that for the future.
Yeah. For me, it definitely just adds to your interaction with the instrument. So, I really like them, and I'm excited to see what you get and what you do with it.
Sure. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's also a conversation to be had once you have more expression controllers. Like, where do you put them in your case?
Yeah. I mean, right now I wouldn't be able to put anything in my case. It's completely
all right, let's move on. I selfishly want to talk about the Castor and Pollux because it's rad, and I also haven't read much of the manual.
That is the best manual I've ever seen in my life, though.
It's first of all, Stargirl made very amazing modules, incredible website, and actual like an online manual that is up to date. Really nice photos, really well designed,
waveforms.
easy to read on your phone, laptop, whatever. Interactive waveforms even, which have some really nice curving connectors and stuff like that. I remember seeing something about that, but so I haven't looked at the manual too closely yet. I just, it's one of those I like to like plug it in, make some accidents first.
The only things I really used the manual for was routing the LFO and changing the octave range.
Changing the octave range. I did not. Well, let's just look at the thing. Here, let me get all these out of the way.
Well, it was because I often leave like one or two oscillators not sequenced. So if I'm not sequencing something, I need to be able to actually turn a knob to the note I want.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, these are... I'm not entirely sure about how the pitch works on these yet, how many octaves there are, etc. I think it's 2 or 3 octaves. Maybe more or less, I don't know. But I used my tuner to basically like tune them to a similar note because I'm using 2 oscillators, similar pitch just for now. Yeah, so that's what this. Just a second, effects off. And you can hear like they're going in and out of sync pretty gnarly. Like I'm not doing any distortion. I don't have any resonance up on my filter. Just have the filter to like tame it a little bit. But it is it's a great sounding module. So like I've been playing around with it, just trying to find some things. One thing I've been struggling with is pulse width modulation, and I don't want to necessarily need to troubleshoot that here. I think I just need to read the manual, because when I would use that, it would essentially like completely kill the square wave to almost like a blip.
That depends on what you have the pulse width set to. It should.
Yeah, and I do the thing where I'm like listening to it and rapidly changing that. And I was just listening to the square wave, so like I ran into some issues there. I even attenuated the signal a bit, but I think I just need to read it at this point. But everything else has been sounding great. Well, even without the PWM, it's sounding great. I love that it's 2 oscillators I can use independently right now. I don't actually know if I need to do this, but I have both the I use the buffered multiple to split the pitch, the CV pitch, and put them into each individual oscillator. I don't know if I need to even do that with the second one. I think it might match it, but we'll see.
You can just leave the second one unpatched if you want, and they'll both move.
Yeah, I think so.
So if I want one to drone and one to not drone, then I just CV the second one instead of the first one.
Right. So if I go, let's see here, let's go to a higher pitch. That's a little more pleasant. I unplug this. Yeah, it's still there. Cool. Even simpler.
So good. I'm so excited to hear like different things out of it.
And obviously it sounds extra good because I'm using these particular patch cables that are really nice.
They're so nice.
Courtesy of, well, not courtesy of, but made by Bartok.
Yeah. Patchwork cables.
Patchwork cables. Like, check these out. Like, I'm going to go even closer again.
Oh, boy.
Like, look at this. Every time. I didn't even look at this one before, and it's got, like, really nice shrink wrap on there. Then you've got the sleeve. And there's this over here. It just ensures that signal wire isn't touching the ground. You won't short. Really nice cables. Very happy with them. Now I need a place to put them. And probably to order more at some point. Yeah, so I've been enjoying the module, but what are some like cool things you've been like? What are its secrets? I have not been able to tame it yet because I've only spent like 15 minutes total with it.
Yeah, and you were talking about trying to make soft things with it.
Yeah.
So the mixer things are really, really helpful. Like, you actually have to be like, okay, I'm not going to turn all of these waveforms all the way up.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like, well, it's interesting because right before my Castor and Pollux got here, I've been borrowing a Juno. So I've been able to kind of compare the way the Juno is programmed. And that is like the way you program the Juno. You say what level of amount you want each of the waveforms to be.
Okay.
And so if you want it to be really soft, you need to pick like 1 on the Juno.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Turn them all like way down and see how low it has to be until it sounds like, and then aggressively filter it.
Yes. Yeah. Aggressive filtering. I mean that's obviously I defaulted to that. There's also
it really likes a high pass filter too.
Yeah, I should try that. I actually also found quickly in my experimenting that the sub oscillators really quickly make it gnarly.
Yeah.
But they rule, just to be clear. They are awesome. But yeah, if I just have like one or two of the things mixed in, or just very light square waves, things like that, soften it up.
I would try just doing like a tiny bit of saw and a tiny bit of square. See. Try it right there.
there's this knob right in the middle that does, I think it's labeled chorus.
Yeah.
But I think I'm not even sure what it's doing, but it adds some gnarly, so you can sort of hear LFO happening more.
Yeah, so it's an LFO. On the second
Yeah.
oscillator, you can also change how much of it is going up and down, and you can also just make it a lot faster so then it sounds more like a vibrato.
Yes, it goes pretty fast. Right now I have it in you can almost hear the speed changing of it. But I don't know if that's just an illusion from a little bit of phase cancellation happening as the waves align.
I think it's supposed to be the same speed.
Yeah. So it probably is phase cancellation. All right. And it was a DIY kit, which if you've not built any modules yet, you need a soldering. This kit's probably entirely doable for you. It's just potentiometers, sockets, a button, and let's see.
The power.
Yeah, and the power. Well, yeah, the power. A couple of connectors, but they're all fairly foolproof, and the instructions for that are also really, really well done. They're designed for somebody who's never soldered before. Even includes some rubber bands to hold the thing together, so you sandwich the jacks and or the sockets and the potentiometers in there before you solder them. So you rubber band the whole thing, then solder them. It's really well done. So
and what's really nice about that is that I'm scared to get VCO kits because of the calibration involved.
Yep.
And with this one, you don't need to worry about that, right?
Yeah,
So it's a really simple build, and you get something really great out of it.
How come? What did they do smart there?
Go ahead.
Oh, well, the Juno oscillators were called DCOs, which is, that part is controlled by a computer. So this Castor and Pollux has a chip that's controlling the pitch.
Right.
So it doesn't need to be calibrated.
Right,
Cool.
they're digital versus the analog oscillators. I assume they're pretty similar to a lot of analog oscillators in the Cosmo.
Yeah, well, they're a DCO is an analog oscillator with digital pitch control.
Right. In this one, this has both analog pitch control and analog oscillation, but what it means is you have to do some minorly annoying calibration where you have a multimeter, you connect it to the ground and then to specific either pins or outputs, and you're trying to hit a specific voltage exactly to not so much to tune it. It's more for I forget what it's called. I don't know if it's intonation.
Reference?
But,
yeah.
Yeah, you've got a reference one specifically for the pitch control. Not volt per octave, but like a pitch wheel type thing. But there's also a second one that's a reference voltage, and you need to get it tune it so that when you go up an octave with your MIDI controller or whatever, it actually goes up exactly an octave. Because there tends to be some drift either way on those on
Is it
analog.
rings or is it clouds? You have to do
Tracking.
the same thing when you calibrate it.
Yeah.
Because that annoyed me a lot. And I had to get my multimeter from storage. I don't use it that much.
It's just a little tricky. I wouldn't recommend that kind of stuff for beginners because there's already enough things that can go wrong. But the Castor and Pollux is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah, it showed up on my classifieds. I have a search thing that automatically alerts me when there's a new Euro rack in my neighborhood. It showed up, and I was very close to buying it, but for some reason I didn't. And now I regret it when I hear you find people talk about it.
Well, it also inspired me to get moving on my case because I've been sort of sitting on this power supply I ordered because it's got a lot of these bus boards, which means a lot of soldering. Let's see, 180 pins just for the rows of power sockets or headers, box headers. So I did half of them this weekend after getting excited about Castor and Pollux, because ideally that's going to sit in the new case, be the first module that's going to live there. Because I don't need more oscillators in this case. There's plenty there. It's yeah, I can't wait.
I am going to swap some oscillators soon because I think it's getting time. I've outlived my beginners oscillators. I have some digital ones I'm getting really tired of. I bought one of those Pico DSPs. Oh, no, sorry, Pico Voice, which is a 3 HP
Yeah.
digital thingy. And I mean, it's fine, but it's not super interesting. And I want things with a little bit more character at this point.
So
This
what are you
one's
looking
got
at?
character.
Not. I mean, I have sort of. I have sort of a few ideas right now. I'm looking at. Let me just find my modular grid again. But I'm looking a little bit into the Instro CSL, which is a complex oscillator, dual one. There's also the one from Seok, which the name escapes me quite right now. What was it? The Odessa.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's,
That
okay.
one.
I've not heard of that one.
It's also super interesting. I think Christian has it. So I might we can maybe ask him about it at some point. But it's super interesting, sort of this additive synthesis thing with a lot of sort of
It's like got the big knob in the middle, and it's got
yeah,
like a whole bunch of bands of sine waves.
I
exactly.
see. I see.
It's an
So you're
additive one, yeah.
creating, you're
Those
adding
spectral
harmonics to create
thingies
different
and
waves with
harmonics
it.
and
Yeah.
yeah. And I think originally it showed up on our radar because there's an expander that allows you to put 4 volt per octave inputs to it, so you can sort of play it polyphonically as well, and that seemed interesting. Now I don't care too much about that because I have the polycinematic right now, um, but I think it just has a lot of interesting character. When I heard some examples of it on YouTube, it really sounded interesting. Also because it's additive synthesis, which is different from a lot of other stuff we're doing in Eurorack.
Yes. What was I using that had additive synthesis? That was pretty fun. Shoot.
I know it's pronounced chaos,
Remember.
but most people don't recognize it when I say chaos. So,
I say Zayok in my head every time, even though I know it's not.
yeah,
But I also call wrong Warng every time.
I just
So
learned
that's
it's called chaos. I was. That
that's
makes a lot of
cursive
sense.
only reading things and never hearing anyone say them.
Yeah.
it's in Cyrillic, so it makes sense. I'll call chaos
Yep.
when we get subtitles in this show.
That's cool. Yeah. What? I forget what I was using that had additive synthesis. Additive synthesis is a lot of fun. Because you can just get sounds you wouldn't otherwise. Like I get,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that soft
It's
synth.
it's
it's
mostly because
cool.
I want to shake things up a little bit also, because I think I got a lot out of some really powerful digital modules, especially in my sort of my first case where I could sort of just jam pack everything together and have like this digital module and this digital module, and and it could do a lot and had a lot of sound, but it's also quite a lot of the same sound I find, the same kind of character. I want to see if there's something else out there that moves in a different direction.
I
Yeah,
also go ahead.
I said I'm kind of at that point too myself, and I've been looking at the Hummingbird triple oscillator to kind of try something different because I don't know if it's just because I've had these for quite some time now, and I just want to see, a different sound that I want to get, or if I'm really not liking what I've ended up with, and I think that's always like a bit of a battle. But it's looks really cool. It's and it's I've looked for some dual oscillator modules before. I actually have the twin waves, but my other ones are kind of your standard, like what a lot of people start off with, the STO. I have the micro braids version, which I've had out of my case for a long time, and I just put it back in when I was looking at the Hummingbird, just to see, well, I've got something that I'm not using right now. Maybe I should just put it back in and see if it has what I'm looking for.
Hummingbird, you say? Who makes it?
Yeah, it's I think it's relatively new because I can only find it at Patchworks. It's by Northwest Synthesizers.
Okay.
Hummingbird Triple Oscillator Bank.
Oh wow, yeah, it is cool looking. Let me I'll pull it up on the video in a second. Get that loaded in the right place.
Is it even on Modular Grid? Can't seem to find it.
No, it's not on Modular Grid.
Right. Does it even exist then?
Well, Patchwork sells it, so
Okay, fair enough.
So there's
there it is.
Oh,
there it is. Sorry.
It's a big boy.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then that's kind of always been a battle too, right? Because a lot of my stuff is pretty compact.
Yeah.
And so I'd have to make a pretty big change.
But you get 3.
But you
But
don't get a
I
lot of CV modulation, as far as I can say. If you have 3 different oscillator parts.
You're right.
Well,
Hmm.
yeah, so it's got some cool. It looks like you got 3 outputs, or well, several outputs. So you have the oscillator 1, 2, and 3 individuals, a sub oscillator 1 sub output, and oscillator mix of probably all 4, which is sick. And then it looks like CV for each oscillator, pitch and wave options, so you can mod either pitch or wave. I'm not sure what.
No, yeah, I'm not sure what
Is-
else you
Is
want.
the
What does it
waveform
mean?
does the waveform blend? I'm guessing it blends
must
between these
blend.
different waveforms.
it does.
Yeah.
It does. And the reason I want to try it is because I got the Voca bass a few months ago,
Yeah.
and I
Yep.
really like, because it has 3 oscillators there too, and I can kind of detune them to each other or do an octave difference between them. So I just really like that functionality, and I was looking for something similar but in Eurorack form,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I think this might give it to me.
This looks pretty ace. The one thing I sort of wish it had, which would remove the cool Hummingbird, would be a pitch adjustment knob up here, where the Hummingbird is. And
They could make it hummingbird shaped.
right, well, here's the thing. On the SEO2, Studio Electronics and Roland collaboration, I can't remember if that was, I think it was also 3 oscillators, and or it's 2 or 3 oscillators, but basically the way it's built, that top pitch knob controls the pitch of all 3, like the fine-tuned pitch of all 3 relatively. So you can like fine-tune this to be a little bit low or high, and then adjust the pitch of all 3 at the same time with that top knob, which is really kind of fun to do. But other than that, this looks pretty ideal for like number of oscillators and the sounds you can get from it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I feel like I didn't start with like I didn't think that I would want to keep using a beginner oscillator, so I didn't go that way. But I also had some semi-modular, I guess.
Yeah.
And also my first like Eurorack oscillator was chips, which I knew was terrible and was terrible. And so anything is better than that. But
I mean, it
I still
also
have
looks
2
like.
semi-modulars that I just packed down. I don't know what to do with them. I'll probably sell them at some point.
Oh, I love my semi-modulars.
Yeah.
But it's also got PWM. If you look closely, you've got a square wave, right, and then a thinner square wave. So if
Yeah.
you're modulating between those two, you got
some PWM.
instant fat sound. Nice, very cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so my first actual oscillator was the primary oscillator, which I'm still really happy with and I'm not tired of.
Yeah, I mean, I love my really simple oscillators. They can't do any wave, transitions between types of waves or anything, but I love it. Sounds great.
The primary has like an analog wavefoldy thing or like a bit crushy type thing. It's like you can make really gnarly sounds out of it.
Yeah. mean, I recommend everybody have like some sort of analog oscillator. They're just fun to have. They're mildly annoying when it comes to tuning and all that, but you just
Yeah,
get
and
used to it.
uh, it doesn't expect the same voltage as my other oscillators.
Um,
Oh,
It hates the key step.
and like the key step, I'm glad you brought that up because that's the most experience I've had with digital oscillators. It's got a lot of the mutable instruments oscillators and some noise engineering ones, and probably
Oh, you mean the micro freak?
microfreak. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. What did I say?
Key step.
I said the key step. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. That happens to me all the time.
I'm not mad at the
Microfreak.
micro freak. I'm
Yeah,
just
the
mad at the key
microfreak.
step.
Microfreak. I think I understand why some folks get like, oh, analog oscillators just sound better, they're fatter or whatever, like better bass. Like, I don't think that's true. Well, it's not true. I just think that when you go with digital oscillators, like some of the more complex ones, they're just thinner sounding because I think there's just more happening with the waveform. So if you want
Yeah.
like a really fat sound, go to that square wave on a digital oscillator and
Just put
Yeah.
some reverb on it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's what it confused me as well. There's a lot of new people when they buy like a microfreak because it sounds pretty cool, but it's very thin in the sound generally. The moment you put some reverb on it, it sounds very nice.
Yeah, it just sounds a little. It's got that thin feel because that's how the waveforms are designed for those particular waves. If you go to the right waveforms, like it's got
Yeah.
some
Yeah, like a
heat.
lot of times wavetables sound really weird and thin and stuff like that. Too. Just because of how they are. That's yeah.
Like that doesn't sound thin at all to me. Anyway,
No.
other than with these headphones that cut a little bass out, but whatever. Analog oscillators take bipolar CVN to pitch smoother than digital. That's probably true. Anything that doesn't have to be processed is going to be a little smoother.
Yeah. Yeah, I buy that as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can do funky things with them. Like you can go.
But yeah, like I'm pro
Yeah.
digital oscillator. Like BIA is amazing.
Yes, that's on my list. But Bartok, I think that's an awesome dual oscillator. Or a triple?
Triple.
Quadruple, because it's got the sub.
Yeah, so we'll see. Just the fact that I can adjust, slightly adjust the pitch between them is kind of what's interesting me right
Yes.
now. So we'll see. I'll have to experiment.
Are the
Do
pitch
you
ins
do that
normal?
a lot? Do you detune your oscillators like sort of, not just slightly but actual?
I don't now. So now most of the time they're tuned to maybe an octave. Some will be an octave difference, and then sometimes on the clavis, the dual oscillator, I'll tune that second one to either a third or a fifth.
Yes,
But
that's what I do too.
but
Yeah.
I haven't messed with just slightly detuning it. But that's what I want to try. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Fifths are great.
I've done it a bit with the grandmother, but I need to do that more. Detune is nice.
Yeah,
I don't
and
do it. I don't do it at all.
one of the things about analog, like if you get that analog, is it analog? I'm not even sure. I'm assuming just from looking at it, that might be analog. But
Which?
let's see, the Hummingbird. No, it might be digital. But with analog, they detune with temperature, right? Like
Yeah.
that's just gonna happen. So that's how I discover usually. Like one of these two oscillators tends to go out, and I just like it and run with it because I'm like halfway into a sequence by the time I realize it, and I'm like, cool. But if you got three oscillators, like that's the magic number for detuning. Like you really want the one that's sort of a middle-ish or high-ish pitch to be like your dead center, and then detune either direction, and you get some you get the phase cancellation happening, which gives you that really gnarly sound.
I'm gonna go detune some things after this. Like
So I think last time I did a stream on EMS, I was
Oh,
fiddling
there's
up on.
birds out there. Oh, sorry.
I was fiddling with the with the Dover standard VCO I have, and it has a range knob just over the tune knob, just slightly over the tune knob. And there's a small part over a big button, so it's very easy to sort of accidentally bump into something. So I completely detuned it during the stream, and then I found out that I have the hex mix system, so I could just just mute the instrument, plug my headphones into the mixer, turn the PFL button up so I could just hear that oscillator and tune it while the whole thing was just playing on. That's a lifesaver. That's really a lifesaver.
Now, I do think a requirement for me for oscillators at this point is like two pitch knobs. Well, one is for an octave switch basically, and the other one is fine tune. And that fine tune knob, if done right, is super cool. Like if you turn it all the way to the left, and then you turn it all the way to the right, it's an exact octave. If you could do that, which is what mines are, you can easily go down or up a fifth on the fly without thinking.
Yeah.
The primary oscillator has a fine tune, and I'm so spoiled. And that is like the one thing about the Castor and Pollux is it's very difficult to tune. It has 2 trim pots. That's it.
Yeah, it's and they're
But that would be my.
Are there even trim pots, or are they just regular pots?
What the tiny
the
boys.
pots. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Difficult to tune is the point.
Sorry, the trim pots I just associate with the ones I need the screwdriver for. That's why this is always handy. My oscillators are unstable.
I just kind of wish that every module designer would put the detune knob or the tune knob as far away from anything that's used during performance.
Yeah.
Because it happens so often that you
should be able to
accidentally
lock
just bump
it.
into it. Yeah, for sure. Like push it in before you have to turn it or something like that.
Noise engineering does that. I really like that. If you don't push it in, it's like fine tune. It's very, very fine.
Oh yeah, I haven't even thought about that because mine have the built-in tuners. So I just if I bump it, I put it back. But yeah, that's gonna drive me crazy, huh?
Yeah. Enjoy your big format while you can.
Yeah, enjoy how nice life is with giant oscillators. Take the knob off. Well, some of them are just the pot, like the Castor and Pollux. There's not a knob you can take off. It's a potentiometer, right? Like I could put a fixed resistor in there or something, but that seems like a lot of work. And then I would never be able to change a pitch.
The Neutron that was my first semi-module. It had both the ability to lock the tune knobs, which is really nice. It also had the ability to tune directly from MIDI, so you could just click a thing and a light would show up and tell you whether you are above or below the reference pitch.
Oh, see, that's really nice. I think built-in tuner is pretty nice. You could probably
but it only works with MIDI for obvious reasons, I guess.
Right.
I don't really care about a reference pitch. I just pick something that's going to be the.
Yeah. Right now, I mean, I have the Disting EX as well, and that has a tuner, but it's the worst tuner I've ever used. It there's so many waveforms it isn't really able to pick up the pitch from.
There is a really cool module. I haven't tested it. I don't remember the name of it, but there's a cool module by Endorphins that basically auto tunes for you. Like not auto tune like the effect, but you basically hit a button and I think you probably send it the output signal to all of your oscillators. I'm not sure, and it'll just automatically get them into tune.
Yeah, I saw the video with that one, but I didn't really quite get what it actually does. Is it an indicator that you have to turn the knob yourself, or does it precision add?
No, I think it's doing it itself, but I don't know. It's been a while since I watched the video. Hey CK, welcome. Yeah, we're talking about tuning, the most fun part of your rack.
Yeah.
So for tuning, the trick I do is because, especially if you're using the key step, like if you plug it in after you've tuned it, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
So one thing you want to do is whenever you're sequencing into the 1 volt inputs, make sure those are connected first. And then on my sequencer, so on the black sequencer, I have one saved project that's the same note. So what I do is I just run that, and then so that's all sending the same note to all of my oscillators, and then I'll tune those together.
Yeah.
And I did that the same with the toolbox.
Yep.
The toolbox, I made a program or a song that was just one note constantly repeating. And I don't know what it is. Like, it doesn't matter. I have one song out there that's titled something in G minor, but if you actually try to listen to it, like I played it in G minor, but it's not really in G minor. But it doesn't matter. Just as long as they're all tuned together, then that's the easiest way I found to tune them.
Yes.
I logged into YouTube the other day and got a recommendation from YouTube. Do you want to listen to more like 430 hertz A for 4 hours? So yeah, no, I don't. But that's
I
what
don't
I
have
do.
that many
usually.
oscillators to tune. No, thank you. But when I get up to like, I don't know, 500, sure.
CK says tune by ear, and I am team everything is by ear. I'm using my
Oh yeah.
quantizer as an arpeggiator only.
Because I use external instruments, like that very farty micro freak sound, I do actually tend to at least get my first tune by tuner, first oscillator by tuner, and then I'll tune to that. It's
I'm
faster.
picky about it, and so I've started to use a phone app right now, and it seems to work okay.
Yeah, and also use your sine output. Like
Yes.
Yeah.
even if that's not what you're using, use the
Yeah.
sine output because that's going to be the cleanest. So if you're using a tuner, it's going to be it's harder for it to pick up your sawtooth or the sub sounds, whatever.
And if you
Rings.
have a tuner, like put it end of chain, like put it probably even like if you got an extra out on your mixer, that's how I have mine, so that you can tune anything really quickly. Like I use a guitar pedal tuner for that stuff. Yep, end of chain. All right, let's move on to something more exciting. Let's see.
I love talking about tuning.
We can. Yeah, I mean, there's an art to it. I actually really like it. Every once in a while, I'll do some really nice like equal temperament drone stuff. But the reason I usually end up doing it as a drone is like if I play a specific chord, equal temperament, everything sounds really nice, and then I change to another chord, it sounds really discordant. It's not good. So tend to just do drone because I don't have the what is it called, the Duanatron something-atron. Like they made a machine that's like you can play chords and it's always an equal temperament no matter what you play, which is pretty wild. But unless you're like Trent Reznor, you're not going to afford that kind of shit.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that sort of tuning in Eurorack follows those 7 stages of grief pretty well. I mean,
Yeah.
it ends with acceptance, but there's a lot of denial and anger in between.
Yeah, I mean, I just learned I don't care if it's exactly in tune at all. Like if it sounds good, it's good.
I'm typing without muting myself.
Somebody sample that and make a sick hi-hat out of it. Yeah, next up we can either talk about
Yesterday before I streamed, I tuned the grandmother to my out-of-tune guitar before I started anything. Because I didn't feel like tuning the guitar, so...
That's so good. I was like I was excited that you got the guitar out and made a quick loop, and yeah, that was cool.
Yay!
I love that you tuned the grandmother to the out-of-tune guitar, which is the way to do it.
Yeah!
Also, for any of you that like guitar stuff, if they're out of tune, they usually sound even better, so...
Yeah.
Don't...
That was a weird thing. I realized all of a sudden that I can improvise on guitar, and I couldn't before. Because I've been doing so much synth stuff. And I, like, sat down a while ago, and I was like, what the hell? It's transferable. Normally, I would play along with other people's music.
Oh, Benjamin, you're doing equal temperament tuning? Like, how does that work? Like, I just haven't had success doing. Wait, is equal temperament the one where they're all perfectly in pitch, or is that like the?
No, well tempered is the one that we usually use
Yes.
today. The equal
Yeah.
temperament is the one with exactly the same space
Right.
between the notes.
Oh. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Well, I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, the temperament where everything is perfectly in pitch, like you got all like the third and the fifth perfectly in tune,
Yeah,
which isn't
that's
currently
the
like
equal
how a
one.
guitar works. Yeah, yeah, it just has such a nice holier than thou sound if you get it right. I have to achieve perfect unison tuning. I'm curious. Yeah, that I bet I could do that with my oscillators, but then they'd
What
be
if
like
this
stuck in
afternoon
there.
everybody just makes giant drones with all their unison?
Well, that's what I was gonna ask next, because you were saying I saw in the agenda you had a drone thing you like to try that you like to do with the Icary, and I'm curious about it.
And the Castor and Pollux, which is why I was going to say, because you have both of them. If you wanted to make a drone that is cool, you put the Castor on the left side and the Pollux on the right side, and you have it doing a really, really, really slow chorus on the right side. And it sounds cool and off-putting.
Oh, interesting. I'll try that.
Yeah.
I was also thinking, yeah, I'm gonna try some stuff with it. That could be fun.
Yeah, that was the big modular world thing that I did that, and it was like, it is kind of off-putting. It's like kind of makes you off balance. The Akari instructions even have, if you put the beyond output, it says it's off-putting
Oh
and
yeah,
makes you feel dizzy or
Beyond is
sick.
weird. Yeah, I've messed with it a few times, and it's a great label.
It's cool.
Yeah. Bad tempered clavier. Poor temperament. That's me. When I'm tuning. Let's see. And then your other question: why do people like giant sequencers? And why don't you understand them? You hate it.
like just all the people with like the vector sequencer and the black sequencer and the nerd seq and the other giant ones, and like, how do you know you're gonna like it? I assume I'm
But
going
how
to
do you
hate every
define
single workflow, and then
how do
all
you,
of a
how do you
sudden,
how do you define giant here? I mean, is it
a sequencer that makes more than 2 sequences, maybe,
right?
or is big, like in
like to have
racks.
some complexity to them. In this
Right.
case,
That's
I
not an
think all of those
SQ1.
have some. Yeah.
I mean, I got the black sequencer recently-ish. I think in the end Robbie sort of convinced me, but no, it's really hard because it is a pretty big investment, not only in money but also in rack space. It takes a whole lot of space up,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah,
kind
like
of
it feels like a huge risk to get a big sequencer like that.
it does, yeah.
And you might hate the
I mean,
workflow. That's the
you might
thing I
hate the
struggle
workflow.
with.
That's
Yeah.
kind of the issue, and I mean because before that, and still to some point, I have the Hermod, and I can't seem to get rid of it.
Most people I know are not using their Hermod, so
No,
that doesn't say good things about it to me.
no, but I hated the workflow in that one, for real. It has some super cool features. It works really well with that one module I have that uses MIDI, but the workflow there was terrible. So I guess I mean, there's this. I wish there was sort of a place I could go and just play around with all the sequences for a
Yeah.
whole day, and you know, to get a feel for the workflow, but there isn't.
Well, like, I live in
So
the middle of nowhere, and so the idea of like taking this huge leap and getting some giant thing, like, I probably won't be able to sell it if I buy something like that. So then it's, well, I'd better learn to like it. So I don't know.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still thinking that there probably isn't a perfect sequencer. So it's all about which compromises do you want to do on that purchase. I mean, because there's probably not going to be one that's intuitively perfect from day one. It's going to be something you need to sort of learn how to use it as well, and then you find out what are the quirks, what are my potential workarounds for those quirks, and can I live with those workarounds?
Yeah, and then it's like, this is controlling my entire rack, and if I don't like the experience of it, then it doesn't seem appealing to me at all. I'm currently using two SQ1s, the built-in sequencer for the DFAM, and the built-in sequencer for the Moog, and an arpeggiator.
There's a lot
Right.
of so the SQ1s and the DFAM sequencer are like, I think they're almost identical, right? Where
And a
it's like
steppy.
one note per step, and you're sort of like you've got pitch knobs basically for each one of those.
Yeah, and then they put out like the SQ64, but it's nothing like the SQ1 in workflow, so it's like, that didn't help.
Yeah, the XQ64, honestly, if they had come out with that before I got a Beat Step Pro, I'd probably have that thing. But I'm beyond wanting
I still
one of
love the
those.
B-Step Pro.
Yeah.
I hated it when I got it. I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. But then
too.
it's stuck.
My friend came over a while ago, and we tried to decipher their Beat Step Pro, and it did not succeed.
I still don't like some things about the Beat Step Pro. Like, I don't like. I guess I'm just going to talk about what I don't like in sequencers, because I know that. I don't like it when it takes me too long to like program and load. So like right now I'm in sort of a middle happy place with the pyramid. Like, it's the best one I've used. It's closest to what I want, where I can like hit a note on my key step. I mean, I could use the pads, but I hate pads. Step one, don't like pads. So I'll hit a note, and then if I'm on like the sequencer, it's very like the key step where you can like hit buttons to turn on or off that pitch. I mean, per step, right? And I can change that, do that real quickly. And I can do it all at once, really fast. I do not like on the beat step where I have to like rotate a knob per step and like sort of find sweet spots. I don't find that really is nice for quickly improving thing, because I'm not good at the keyboard is the short of it. Like, if I was really decent or close to on time, I could like play it in nicely. Not the case. So anything that I can go really fast to get a sequence in is necessary. The NerdSec or anything like those trackers, I'm a little hesitant, because it's like one note at a time, and like go like select a step and then note.
Yeah,
slow.
like my problem is if I have to program it in before I even start patching, like I don't want to do it at all. And like I need to be able to do stuff more immediately, and I feel like I don't know what that is, what kind of sequencer that is.
No, it's tricky. There's a lot of videos out there trying to sort of show you workflow and show compare sequences. They help a little bit, I think, but it's hard.
It's hard.
And I totally get you on the commitment part of it. I felt exactly the same way, and I had my Hermod up on the maximum time allowed for free on the local classifieds and nothing. But I'll use it again.
Yeah.
I also don't like a keyboard-based like key step or whatever. Like, is there a way to get it to like record how you're resting? Like, you have to program in every rest and every tie.
Tying notes.
No. I'm just not friends with that. It's
yeah.
Oh.
Well, like, in my stream yesterday, I tried to program a sequence in on the Moog, and then it didn't work, and I had to do it again.
That sucks on every sequencer.
I've spent hours just, playing a melody out on the piano part of the key steps, and then think, I want to program that in. And then trying for 2 hours, trying to get the notes the right length and giving up halfway through. It's just not a very good workflow.
No.
I end up actually just going into the DAW on my PC and playing it in there and then recording it back into the sequencer that I got it.
Yeah, whereas on an SQ1, which is like $150, and you can get it for less than $100 used, there's a duty knob, and you just turn the knob, and now the note is longer. The end.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's why I still have SQ1s.
Yep. I hate every sequencer's the way you tie. Like, when I played it, I'm like, and then when you program it, it's like, we can't hear the difference. But like, it's like 16th notes instead of quarter notes or whatever.
Or you're doing like a very humanistic. It's not you're not robotic like on the beat,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you
right?
can't.
So when you're playing it, you're doing bum bum bum. So you've got like a little delay sometimes,
Yeah.
but then when you record that, it's gonna be like very robotic.
Now,
Um,
the pyramid does have like a human. It's got MIDI effects, which are pretty cool, which I can talk about later. But like one of them is humanize. It sort of like quantizes it to be as like if I program it in and it's locked in like perfect robot-y. If I turn that humanize up, it like sounds like someone who's crappy at the keyboard played it, right? Like if that's all the way
It,
cranked, right?
it's kind of like that thing that Marvel's has as well by Beautiful
Yeah.
Instruments
Yeah,
with the
and
jitter thing. So it just varies how precise your
but
beat
it
section
never
is.
sounds good because it humanizes like just somehow wrong. Like it's never
Yeah,
once
this is not the
sounded
way
good.
you would play that.
No, and the best I've seen is actually on the OPZ. As far as it's a killer sequencer, so I can actually like play something in, right? And because I play crappily, I can go up and there's like a quantize feature that is controlled by a rotary encoder, so I can like shift mine from like crappy human to quantize, and I can find like a happy medium really quickly. That thing
That's
is
pretty
pretty
cool.
awesome as far as sequencers go. Until you get to anything longer than 16 notes, and then you got to sort of play everything in. But
yeah, the way I've kind of combated that a little bit is just by messing with the envelope that I'm using to to try to find a sweet spot that kind of elongates that gate or keeps it, and the other notes are short, but
yeah,
it's not long enough to make those short notes sound weird. But it
yeah,
is sometimes like a bit of a messing around with the envelope to try to make it sound what you're hoping to sound. Um, but I get it on picking a sequencer, especially not being close to one. You know, I can drive an hour or so to Perfect Circuit and play with some there. Um, but not being able to do that and
Yeah, I
thinking
have to
like,
do that with every single module, and like
right,
big sequencers like that is just like a no-go. Like that is too much.
yeah. Um, Man, I wish I had an answer for you
Because
because
yeah, like it would
the other
have to
thing too,
be.
like you watch those YouTube videos and like Icing said, right, like they don't always show um the same workflow, but that's because they're showing their workflow,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
exactly. And then
yours is gonna
like
be completely different.
also
Um,
nobody is making music that I like to make on these tutorials. They're all making techno, and I can't figure out how to transfer it to what I would do with it. Like it that's really hard. Like CK recommended the Eloquencer, and I was looking at videos on that. Like besides the fact that I do not have any access to one I could play with, they are $900 in Canada. So like
right.
that's like
I
several
could just
SQ1s.
get a whole bunch of SQ1s.
The thing is though, like you know you're like, okay, I've got two SQ1s and I'm using the sequencer and the DFAM and this one. So for you at least, it would be getting rid of the start and stop. I mean, I don't know how they all work together, but you would just have one controller where you could start and stop everything at once.
Yeah,
And
so
Yeah,
then I'm putting all my eggs in the basket of that controller, and now everything is out of that controller forever. That also, I get bored.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's yeah. So any good sequencer, you like you need what you're looking for plus a little more usually. You're not like
Yeah.
I don't ever want to like spend more money on what I like something I can already do. Um, and it's hard to find that nice balance of usability. Like I'm very
Yeah.
familiar with the pyramid and I really like it, but I also really hate a lot of things on it. It is like I don't like if I
Yeah,
was a
like
yeah.
I was trying to help a friend pick out a sequencer, and so I've researched like a lot of sequencers, and I just still come out of it like I think I would hate that.
Yeah.
This would be a perfect time if you had a lot of money to start a module renting service, because that would kind of help me in a lot of decisions to think. If you could just, go to a website, order a module for a month, and then send it back.
I mean, really, what I want is like some hybrid like between BeatStep Pro and like the Pyramid, which Endorphins came out with their sequencer, but while I still hope it gets improved to the point, folks just have not enjoyed using it. Like I'm really looking like the Erica Black looks like probably what I want ish. I don't love the interface that much because it's a lot of screen stuff, but whatever.
I'm
It's just,
probably going to get a zero control and just not get another sequencer. Like
No control.
it's like more like a controller sequencer. I think I would prefer that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the no control and the no control and no coast, like all of their like sort of controllery and like I think those are where Make Noise shines the best. So I think a no control would be sick, and you could probably utilize the crap out of it. Tim has one, I think, and kills with it. That's up there in controllers. It's one of those things. Like sequencers are really hard to learn, right? Like they take some time
It's a huge
understand
time
how to use it.
investment. It also takes me forever to learn something. Like
Right, so like even if there was a sequencer store that I could magically go into and play in all day, right? Like I still wouldn't know what sequencer I liked for like a month.
no, exactly,
You know?
exactly. But you get some feeling. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like you have to wait a month before you can use your sequencer either. I mean,
No.
Right.
And I made my decision for my sequencer based on like I needed a lot of MIDI outputs, so check. And I liked sort of this circuits sequencing, and similar to that. So hey, cool. Just gonna go with that. See how it happens. So that's how I found that. And the Circlon's in a similar boat, but like I think the price and availability and like there's other weird quirks with it that I don't know about that one.
no.
So.
I know for a fact that I'm gonna throw this percussion sequencer out of the window soon, or sell it, because I got the LL8 from Rovo, which is 8 output, just grid space, 16
Cool.
step thingy, and it just doesn't do enough. It doesn't have any swing, and it's just hard to program because it's very small buttons. So
I think drum sequencing has been nailed a few times though. Like
it
I think
has,
they're
it has, and
really good drum sequencers.
I'm just gonna use the BeatStep Pro for it because I'm
Yeah.
just so much more productive with that, and it doesn't take that much more space.
And that's where the BeatStep Pro kills it, is drum
It does,
sequencing. And even their Drum Brute Impact is similar to sequencer. That thing has an absolutely killer built-in sequencer. It takes 0 time to learn. Lots of like rolls and that kind of thing. Like you can actually do some fun stuff with them. So go Arturia on drum sequencing.
Yeah, for sure.
And it, even the what's that huge one that people always
Metrolix?
is that right? No,
No, the
Metron, I
WMD
think.
Metron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Metron. The reason I think a lot of people like that is because it looks very similar in style to like the Arturia ones I'm familiar with. Like you get a step for each beat. There's some performable like performance things you can do with it. So it's pretty cool in that sense. So that's probably the drum sequencer I'll pick up eventually. Yeah. Sequencing. Like I just get tired thinking about sequences because there's like a lot of downsides to things,
Yeah, there is.
Stability, whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Forrest, you wrote that also that maybe it was a solution to use a lot of small sequencers, like you're doing now, essentially, right?
right.
And the problem with that is just tying them all together, making
Well,
sure that things start and stop at the same time, and you have to have clock control and all that.
I tend to not have many of my voices sequenced at once though.
Right.
And I often will have
Yeah.
something just moving with an LFO. So like that's not a big deal for me. And then also the other thing I realized is I don't like the idea of picking what key my thing is in. I just want to like make harmonies in my head and then put them on the thing. And
Right.
so that feels
Yeah,
like it would just change what my music sounds like if I had to pick a key.
and that's why I didn't jump in and say, "Oh, Forcing, you got to get the black sequencer,"
Yeah.
because listening to your music and how you perform, it doesn't to me. You wouldn't drive with it,
Yeah,
um, because it's still like something that you have to get in there and set every single note. I
I
mean,
don't like that. Yeah.
there is a random button, but still, and you can define the constraints of that if you wanted to, so it's not like a huge range,
Right.
but
But I want to
it's still
tell it.
something.
Yeah, I want to be able to tell it each note. I want to be able to hear it as I do it. Like something like the SQ1 or even the Moog is just like I could just do it,
I
but
think you could
in my
even
head.
like you could probably even rock like pitch like CV recorders. Like I don't know what to call it, but like where you just
Mm.
play in the sequence and
Yeah,
it's
that's
timed
essentially
sync.
the Hermit actually.
Because
Oh,
then
That's
it's
what
I
I.
need
not.
to try that again because I had a problem with my Ornament and Crime, but there's a sequencer in there I can play into.
Yeah,
Uh,
because I think that would play nicer with what you like to do, and it's not like particularly prescriptive on anything.
that was like
But you can actually do that with the black sequencer.
I wish the MIDI gal had CV and stuff because that's how you program the MIDI gal. You just plug it into your thing, play it, and now it's in the sequencer.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Like, and you do need some clock sequencing because let's face it, like if you want to use the like drummer from another mother, like you can't just like do like arbitrary like loop pedal loops at the
Yeah.
easiest, because they will drift no matter how good you are. Um,
Oh, I am assuming there's some drift every time I make anything. I just decide what's drifting and what isn't.
I was going insane with my clock divider earlier, um, because it's logical when you think about it. But if you set something up to either multiply or divide, it needs a certain time to figure out what it has to multiply and divide. And I had my percussion on the divider with a multiplier on, so it would start like one beat too late, and I would have the bass drum, which would be like on the first beat, and it was always off.
and
That took me a while to understand why that was.
I think, yeah, Kyle. I don't know a single person who hasn't struggled with sequencer selection
Yeah,
and still doesn't. Like, I don't think anybody loves their sequencer to death. Like, there's always something. I haven't heard many people complaining about the Erica Black sequencer, so maybe there's some promise there. But
I don't know anybody
I
who
do have
didn't
some
like
issues with it.
theirs, except
I
you have
have to.
issues.
I have some
Yeah.
issues with it. Yeah,
okay, so
but
like
it's still
everybody struggles. Like that's the thing.
yeah, yeah. I will say though, up to this point, it's probably the best one that I've tried. But there are some things that I don't understand why they did what they did, and I would change.
Right. I
Yeah.
just I don't love the format of Eurorack sequencers. Like I can't even imagine. Like my OPZ is probably the closest to that scale, and it's not like the most fun thing to use at that size. But yeah, I have my own specific like style of how I want to sequence things. The pyramid's fairly close in some respects, but like I don't want to drag that thing everywhere. Like I don't want to bring like my pyramid and all the cables to connect everything, and then like it just gets more complex. So I'm trying to find in the box something that's close.
If someone made the microfix sequencer in a small module, I would get that.
Now, yeah, that is like Arturia's microfix sequencer rules.
It's so fun to use personally.
Yes, spicy.
Spice and dice.
Uh huh. That I think they baked that into an update of. I'm not sure if it's for the regular KeyStep, but maybe for the KeyStep Pro, I think you can actually use those features in it somehow, which is cool.
Yeah.
But the KeyStep Pro is too big for me. I'm pushing desk space already.
I just don't want to spend money on it right now because I already have the BeatStep Pro and the KeyStep. So it feels like I'm covered somehow already.
Wow.
Yeah, and with the black sequencer, I think you got
Yeah.
you got all that covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing I liked about the black sequencer is like typically most of my sequences are like 2 to 3 synth voices and then drums, right? Like, and I think the black can do that nicely and translate from my pyramid to CV like as a
Right.
MIDI, so I could use it as a MIDI converter as well. So
My other
I
odd
have.
requirement. Oh, go ahead.
No, I have three voices out on it, and the fourth one is always going into my precision adder, because the precision adder has four inputs, and then other things that also have pitch can be transposed together with the rest of the black sequencer, or I can do sort of harmonic movements from the fourth CV track.
cool.
Yeah.
All right, we've been
Oh, my
going.
other weird
Oh,
requirement is often I sequence things that are not 1 volt per octave, so I need it to be linear.
Right.
like,
Like the local florist's time input, which you can turn into a bass line.
and you
And it's
don't.
totally not 1 volt per octave. It has to just be the precise amount that you've tuned in.
Ah, I almost think that's like.
SQ1 is perfect for so many
Well,
things like that.
yeah, I know I can do it with this too. Like, it can actually change the output of what I want. But yeah, I almost feel like, yeah. I was gonna say, like, that's almost like two sequencer requirements, like one for like most things, and then like a second sequencer that's more like my evil eye, where it's whatever whatever you set it as.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do that with the black sequence as well. I did that when I had to. You remember the birthday stream we had? I had Platts say EMS, and I had to use very precise voltages from my sequence to do that. But yeah, you can do it sort of on a millivolt scale, I think, on
Yeah.
the mod function of it.
Yeah, use the mod function.
Yeah.
I
Ooh.
also, yeah, there's so many sequencing gotchas, and 1 volt per octave, making it actually 1 volt per octave is tricky sometimes too. Like the Morphogene, you can do that. It's just nightmarish. Like 20 minutes setup to make one piano sound. Decide you don't like it, change the sequence you're playing, and then redo it all. Okay, Pyramid 1000. Oof.
I just looked
Honestly,
things
I
up
wouldn't even
recently.
recommend getting the Pyramid at this point, because I don't know how much further Scorp is going to support it, like
Right.
down the road. Like, I haven't seen many major updates. I think a lot of it's maintenance.
But they haven't updated the Hermit either, and haven't released anything else. So maybe they're just not doing very much at the moment.
I think they're probably working on something. Like the Rample was sick, and I think it was under hyped when it was released. People were like, it's a digital, but it's cool. The Rample's sick, but I don't like the hardware for the Pyramid. That's my first gripe. Second gripe is there's a lot of stability issues around it that I've crashed it a few times. One of the times was like expected, like I wanted to see how high the BPM could go because it claimed 9999 or something, and I wanted to see what that sounded like. I think it got up to like 960 and then like permanently crashed until I turned the power off. The worst thing about it is if you're saving a sequence or loading a sequence, it actually stops playback. So like if I hit play, right, and then I hit save,
The Hermit does that too, but not that long.
yeah,
Only
and
for like a second.
it'll basically stops the MIDI send. Like, so it's I think MIDI sends like a note start, note stop signal, and it, like, whatever it happens to be, it stops sending any MIDI at all. In this case, there was a note on that stayed on, and then it'll do the whole saving. When it gets to the end of the saving, it sends the stop, the kill all. I think. Yeah, don't love that. I would love to be able to save. And that was something the beat step can do quite gracefully. Like, if you are into saving sequences, you can save it while playing and it won't like kill your track.
Oh, that's the other thing. I have no desire or want to save a sequence ever.
Yeah, and that's another thing that a lot of folks don't. And I actually am trying to get better at physically playing the keyboard so that I don't have to worry about pre-programming sequences, because I think part of the fun is playing it in. Like, I would love to be able to, like, if I can play it in, the Beat Step Pro is probably more than accurate. I mean, more than adequate for me for all of my needs. So I could probably switch back to that. Good thing. Yeah, Erica Synth is on fire. Like, they just constantly putting out stuff between their updates, their They open sourced a bunch of things. Like they rule. Big fan. I still haven't built the bass line, but that's actually next after my kids because I want the Castor Pollux and bass line right next to each other to solve all of my sick bass needs.
Yeah,
or whatever.
that's gonna be so good.
So I gotta order some parts for that and get going on that. Yeah. It will not gather too much more dust, I hope. All right. Thanks for joining. Does anybody want to play us out?
I can do it.
Yes.
Let me just set up stuff here.
Act surprised.
While I setting up, Bartok, what's your favorite color of patch cable?
You can't ask me that.
To be continued. Oh, that's really nice.
Ooh, who's gonna go make some Detune drones now?
Me. It's gonna be one of those days where I unplug my headphones and listen through speakers, and my partner walks down and is like, "What are you doing?"
I felt a little sheepish the other day.
I look forward to your blog post, Kyle. I will definitely share the crap out of that and read it. That's a cool sequence.